Right, fuckers and fuckerettes. I thought, seeing as I'm partway through something, I might show you guys some shit. I don't often put up really useful information. What I normally put up is just me acting like a cunt and a bit of sort of airsoft gun porn, if you will. So, I thought I might actually try and be useful to you fucks today. And here is how I'm going to attempt to be useful. This is a G&G that's come into me. All the parts were supplied. I'm going to be supplying nothing but a spring. Simple, right? I'm going through little things that I notice and little things that I do to try and make gearboxes as reliable as possible. As you know, I hate supergluing things in people's guns. I hate it. I don't like supergluing things. But sometimes it's required. Ugh! And it pains me because I really don't like it. If I've got to go back in that gun, if the person then sells his gun, it goes to somebody else, and they, you know, when I send something out, when I sell something, when I make something, when I build something, I give a certain specific amount of rules. You have to do these things to make sure your gun is fucking going to last as long as you want it to. You know, I'm in the process of doing, get this, a Classic Army Nemesis X9 with a Gate Titan DSG build. Apparently, that is impossible. Well, we'll fucking see about that, and if you never hear anything about it, then you know I fucking failed. Super glue with thread lock. I will thread lock, after recent revelations, I will thread lock a piston head on. I will. Thread lock does not last as long as super glue, but you don't want mad thread lock because at some point you might have to get that off. This piston head should last forever. It's just an O-ring that needs maintaining. What if your piston strips? What if your piston cracks? What if something happens there? What are you going to do? You can't get the motherfucker off of there because the rack sits inside there that way and that fucking goes on. You can't get it off. You need to be able to remove it. But I am now thread locking things to be absolutely sure. Advice from somebody else. I've taken the advice. I am doing that. Now, just because these parts have been supplied, what's going in this doesn't mean it's necessarily the parts that I would recommend you buy. You don't need to go out and buy the expensive shit. I don't believe in buying the most expensive shit unless it's got cool trademarks on it, in which case you should definitely buy it. So, just because all this stuff that's been supplied, all of it is max, apart from the piston, which is Mad Bull, and the cylinder, that's SHS. Just because I'm using these doesn't mean that I'm saying to you, use these parts. Please bear that in mind. So, first things first. The gearbox itself. Here she is. I'm being lazy, and I'm not unwiring it from there. I'm not doing it. I don't like cutting through the MOSFET plastic. So, this has been re-shimmed. It only did a little bit of shimming. First of all, if you've got a G&G gun, and you're not looking for a high-speed build or a mega high-torque build, use the G&G gears, because G&G gears are amongst the best that you can get. G&G gears are very, very, very good. The things they do to them. So, how it's rounded on one side. If we compare that to one of these, this one is a seamer. You will see it's rounded on this outside edge. That's awesome, because that means it's not going to catch or scratch accidentally on the tappet plate. It can't. That's good. That's very smart. These gears, when I've tried to short stroke them, they're tough to get through. I mean, cutting through Prometheus gears is like butter compared to these. Again, that's good. And the way they do them, the way they're made, the cutout here, even Seamer copy that design of cutout. Because it means your motor goes too deep, you don't grind the fuck out of it, it just makes noise and stops. Very, very clever. It's a good gear, it's fantastic. We are in the UK. We don't need mad power. And over here, we use skill rather than firepower. Throwing it out there. When you've got these gears, you can make them a lot snappier by removing teeth from the sector gear. If you take this here, and you remove 2 to 3 teeth, you speed up your cycle time very slightly. But it is noticeable. Your semi-auto is snappier. You can feel it, you can hear it, it's snappier. Your full auto will remain the same speed, because as the gears fucking turn, it's still the same amount of revolutions. But your semi-auto is releasing that piston very slightly earlier on every revolution. Your semi-auto will naturally speed up, so that's good. So, make sure it's a nice smooth job. You can actually fuck this up quite badly and have no ill effects. You can gouge it, you can it doesn't look nice, but as long as you don't cut through these gears here, you could literally cut all the way into the gear, because it's never going to break up here, it's only going to lose teeth. So you can fuck that up really badly. Just make sure it's smooth there, and you haven't gone into these teeth here. Alright? If you're going to take 2 teeth off, maybe 3 teeth, you can put an M110 spring in your gun, and generally speaking, not always, your gun will kick out around 330, 340, which UK-wise, that's what we fucking want. So, that's good. What grease do I use? I get it all the time. What grease do I use? Well, in this build, I've got Garda grease, which is the molly grease, that I have mixed with other greases. And I've got numerous pots of greases. I've got lots and lots of them, because each gun and each build get better results and require different greases. You can't just use one grease. Generally speaking, if you want to do a gun that's going to sound nice, last a long time with good compression, these ones here, I'll be honest, I forgot to package them with a customer's gun when I sent it back, and I went, fuck, I forgot to do your fucking grease pots. Would you like me to open your package up before it's collected? He went, no mate, keep them. This is the compression grease, which I can't open because I'm covered in grease. Nice and creamy and white. This one, gear grease. Very, very, very thick molly. This one is a mixture of greases that is neither of those. It's a thinner molly by Garda, and I mix it in with a little bit of silicone and some other greases as well to get the consistency that I want. Each gun is different. If I've got no MOSFETs in there, I can use a thinner grease. It depends on the build, but it's very hard to explain how I would do it because it just fucking varies. So stop asking. Why do I put holes in the corners? I've covered this so many times, but people are now asking, they see it in another video, and they'll ask it on every fucking video I put up, why do I round the corners out? And I'll go through it one more fucking time for you. Impact energy. Piston flies forward. Kabam! It hits the cylinder head. Shockwaves. Boom! Especially on a G&G, that can cause cracking here and here. Spetsnaz arms and G&G are fucking renowned for cracking here and here. If you've got the pneumatic blowback top-tech G&G gearbox, you are basically admitting that within 6 months, maybe a year, that's fucked. No matter how much you radius it. That is called radiusing. You take a file, that's not a file, and you file. And you round the corners out, and when the impact energy hits, it doesn't fly directly out of the corners. So you imagine it was this way. It hits the corners, bang, bang. Now, if you've got a pre-radiused gearbox, they're cast in this shape, that's the toughest. If you take a gearbox that is not previously radiused, and you make these little cutouts, these file marks, you are not preventing the gearbox from cracking. You are simply prolonging the life of the gearbox, because now the energy isn't going bang, bang. Now the energy is going bang and then dispersing equally throughout those round holes. But it's going to last longer if it is pre-radiused, but it also depends on the quality of your gearbox casing. A G&G Top Tech gearbox won't last no matter what you do with it because they are bollocks. Next up, pistons. I've already gone through my last video, plastic pistons, and why I do quite like them, but no one wants that. They want the reliability of full steel rack. The one that's been supplied to me today is a Mad Bull. Now, these are good. They are very good. But they do have some downfalls as well. First downfall. That is the loosest I have ever had a rack in a gun. So that is going to have to be glued in. I've got no choice, that will have to be glued in. Now, 2 things. Firstly, Take a look at this piston. You can see that it's nice and thin across here, and then it is angled off on this side. If we then take a look at this rack, you can see that already I've taken away 2 teeth. Yeah? That is on the release side. Gear picks up, takes it backwards. The teeth are gone from the release side. Don't take them from this side. When you're doing the gear, when you're doing the gear, you want to take it off of the pickup side, which is here. You take 2 off of here, take 2 off of here. Now you can get away with just doing that, or just doing that. You can do it, there's no reason why not. But I've started doing that. I've started doing both. Now, check out the width of the rack. So first of all, it's rounded on one side. If I were to drop this down, this SHS cylinder, with the max piston head and nozzle, it's very hard to sit that perfectly straight. But you can see that where that is nice and shortened, and this side is nice and smoothed off, again, that's not going to catch on the tappet plane. Let's start measuring up racks. This is a new one, I've not tried one of these yet. Apparently it's very, very tough. Look how thin that rack is. When you compare that to a standard seamer, you can see the seamer have rounded off one side, or angled it off, whereas this one is flush on both sides. This is the G&G. Definitely wider. Definitely wider. Check out the fucking girth on this. That is huge. The base of the rack on that is 7.6 millimeters. That's a big rack. The standard G&G, 7.4 millimeters. The seamer rack at the base, 7.4, and this new type at the base of just the rack, 5.6. Now we're talking about how high the rack sits, all the different widths and so forth, and you want the thinnest rack possible, because this rack here is so wide that when it goes down here, it's going to grab on the inside of your cylinder at the back, because this inevitably will move up and down a little bit. This may move up and down a little bit. It may not come out perfectly straight, and it's more likely to be dragged downwards, and that can only happen towards the back, and you're left with scratches and gouges. So with this rack, I have rounded off, I've angled off. So with this rack, I've angled off, fuck off, I've angled off the sides of the rack so that it can't so easily grab on the inside of here. Would you like to know what's so funny? I have an impromptu visit from our new family member. This gorgeous girl is Conchita. She's fucking gorgeous, isn't she? We've rescued her. Now she has a new family. We've had her about 5 days. She weighs a metric fuck ton. She's so heavy. She's a beautiful, beautiful python. Look at that. And her face, she's so gorgeous. She measures in, actually, at about 5 feet long. She's pretty big. But when she balls herself up, you can't really tell. But I don't think I'll get my calipers on her. Let's measure her middles. She is fucking massive. 61! She's huge. She's a big girl. Big girl. Look at that. Now she's going to go back to her mummy. Remember people, pets are for life. When you have a pet, you do not give up on them no matter what. Don't give up on your family. You don't do it. End of. Some people have said, hey, how can I get some money to you? I'd like to donate some money for your time and your videos and all that. Because I don't do any of this fucking give me free money. I take gifts like Hoovers and coffee machines and as much wine and beer as you can give me. But if you really, really want to do something good and you want to send some money to me for my time, I'd appreciate it if you sent it over to the RSPCA Reptile Rescue Centre. Okay, I'll put a link up at the end of this, and I'll put a link in the description just fucking down here, alright? The rack makes all the difference. A weak rack, a thin rack. You do not want a big, fat rack. Next up, bearing piston heads. I quite like a bearing piston head. Some people do, some people don't. If you get a quality one, it's not going to break. And as long as it's screwed in tight enough, it's not going to break. I like when you put something down and you can't fucking find it. I love that shit. Because you know it's right here, because you fucking put it here. But it's not fucking here now. Hey, here it is. Literally one of the most frustrating tasks you can do when you are working on an airsoft gun is trying to get a 5-piece bearing piston head down the inside of a fucking piston. That one went in first time, and I am not going to show you how wrong it can go because that's the stuff of nightmares. Put a tappet plate on sideways and hold it there, and then just using that, do we have an air seal? Yes, we do. That is a perfect air seal. Picking up springs and attaching them is naturally easier with a file because it's got a rough surface. So get a thin pointy one and you'll never again have issues putting springs on. I like bearing spring guides. It's hollow all the way through. That is a godsend if you are trying to do something like a fucking DSG build where you're trying to get to that perfection of 345, 350 and you're using something like an M160 spring. I've seen people trying to do it. In fact, I tried doing it with an M190 spring and trying to get an M190 spring in the back of one of these gearboxes where it doesn't have the quick change. Fuck me, that's hard. So if you imagine with something like this, I've got that much to fucking get play and fucking squeeze it in. With this one here, I can hold that all the way down low. Like that. See that? See how that bounces up? If you've got a particularly tight or short spring on your tappet plate, you're going to fucking have fun trying to keep any shims that you've got to have on top of here in place. You're going to be, oh, that is horrible. So when you've got a hollow one of these, you can hold everything down. I've got an entire free hand to make sure that everything else is fucking bang on. Right then, here's the finished article. This has come out nicely, very, very nicely indeed. A couple of little tiny problems with it, little fucking things. The motor just would not marry up to the bevel gear once I had shimmed it. Now, that sounds stupid because it's the G&G gears and the G&G bushings, the G&G motor and pinion in the G&G gearbox and the G&G gun. But if I put the gear height up or down any amount, it was even noisier. So it had to be that perfect point. In the end, I just swapped his motor out for a brand new SEMA motor. I say brand new, it came out of another gun that was brand new. It gets taken out and put back in. And the gun is now whisper quiet. It's so much quieter. Now, this has got the MOSFET where you can program the 3-shot burst. It tends to do that on its own a little bit. G&G, thanks. Full auto. it sounds so much better, it sounds very positive. I can't adjust the travel this way whatsoever. This little one here, that's a pain in the fucking arse as well, because if I tighten that in, I then can't access the safe. See? So the option is to have the safety and have no adjustable trigger, or have no adjustable trigger. That's the options. Right now, it does safe. He'd prefer to have the safety. We're keeping it on safe. It's a shame. Another big issue with this was the nozzle. When you look at nozzles, there are these either 3 or 4 little divots. See them? Well, the Max nozzle doesn't have them. It's perfectly smooth all the way through. So although the air seal is great, the power dropped to around 90 FPS. Now we threw them on the calipers, they're both the same length, whether it is the original G&G or whether it's the Max. All the diameters were the same, all of them. However, this one, 90 FPS to 112 FPS. As soon as I put the standard G&G back in, pop, 320, 330. Aside from that, the whole thing's working wonderfully. What do I think about the Max parts? It's overkill. You know, the air compression was very, very good, but then if you're going to get that kind of issue, you know, Max cylinder head, Max nozzle in a Max hop unit, you shouldn't be getting that problem. That's a bullshit problem right there. Shouldn't be happening. Shouldn't be happening. So, with that in mind, I certainly wouldn't recommend one of those again. For what the Max cylinder head does, I would rather buy another brand. The hop unit, we know it's a good hop unit. We know it's very, very, very good. And I've said time and time again, the best results I ever got was from a Max hop unit with a maple leaf rubber and a wide bore barrel. But then I discover I can get the exact same results with a ZCI unit. I'm now doing a special offer. You get a free piece of waterproofed board. Negative Airsoft gives you wood.